Adam.
This meeting is being recorded.
How's it going, mate? Very nice to meet
Good.
you.
Very nice to meet you as well. How you doing?
Doing great. And I'm very jealous of your audio. It sounds super, super good, actually.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I actually bought a couple of podcast mics for
Hmm.
me and my wife because we are building the business together. And
Awesome.
so we wanted to sit down and made like a little podcast room. We haven't finished it yet, but we made a little podcast room. And I had a client that was always complaining about my audio. And I go, you know what? Screw it. I'll just buy a high quality microphone. Why not?
Which one is it?
It's Rode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
For the name of this one, hun. Let's see, Rode podcast, pod mic, USB, made in Australia.
yeah, yeah. I feel like it's better than mine, and I actually thought mine was really good.
Oh, you got the was it like Shure? How do you say that one?
It's the Shure M37, but
Yes, that's a really good one.
I don't know. Sometimes maybe it's the settings or the cable, but sometimes I feel like it's not the quality I hoped for. Yeah, it is what it is.
That makes sense. I mean, I struggled for a long time to get a really good microphone, and I thought that my gaming headset would have
Mm-hmm.
a really good microphone attached to it, and it did while I was gaming. But every time I hopped in a Zoom call, it didn't work. My
Yeah.
client was always annoyed. She's like, "You gotta get better microphone," and I go, "Okay,
I have
like
the same
fine."
issue with my headphones. Like my headphones allegedly should be really good, but they're not. The quality is extremely bad.
You're like, what happened there? What the hell? Yeah, I don't get it. And I'm a nerd, so I love a good a good headphone. Okay, there it is
About
right here.
these as well, a couple of weeks ago, the DJI mic something.
Oh, yes,
Um,
I've heard of that one. I heard that one is
yeah,
really good. That one's for walking, right?
yeah, it's really
What you're
good. So I just
talking into.
connected directly to my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got this little thing together with it, and then you just plug it in, and it's super easy to use. Let me show you. So you get these little adapters. So this for the iPhone,
Mm.
but you also have another one that you can plug into a MacBook, I believe. I haven't tried yet. I believe it's USB-C. So you just
Oh,
plug it in
nice.
like this, just in there. You make everything work with whatever this is.
Like
I'm
whatever
uh,
this is.
I'm not
Love it.
really an expert with this stuff. And the awesome thing is you get two of these. So you can really do a podcast with someone else. Just clip them in. So you can have someone sitting
Mm,
there. It's really awesome. I have
that's
tried it a
cool.
total of one time. So yeah, definitely an expert on it. Anyway,
I love it. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Anyway, thanks a lot, man. Like really appreciate you reaching out. Also this stuff you sent, I'm like, oh shit, this is really awesome. And of course in fast forward I've seen your name like 1,000 times, 2,000 times. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, people are really nice. And there are a lot of moments in which people shout me and I go, whoa, that's cool. I go, I didn't think people actually noticed it. Because I kind of just took some of the stuff that my partner. So I wrote a testimonial and I don't normally do that. I don't write reviews on how something went and
Hmm.
how like if something was bad or something was good. Don't normally do that. But after paying for fast forward twice now and seeing the results, I go, all right, that's 2 years worth of data. That's a lot of conversations with that. And I go, yeah, like, yeah, you know, so
It's
it
good.
was
Yeah.
fun. I made a lot of good friends and they're kind and they're willing to shout me out. And I go, dude, that is so cool. And I don't know, feel
I feel like
quite blessed
from
in that.
everything I've done, fast forward is probably by far the best. I've drawn a lot of stuff over the last 8, 9 years or so. But it was
Mm-hmm.
nothing that comes even close to NHB or fast forward. We're like, oh shit, like I'm meeting really cool people who actually do shit. And not
Yes.
just the same high ticket stuff like all the time. So like in all kind of different niches, like except for like high ticket coaching. So that's pretty awesome to see. And also like whenever I talk to Alan, I'm like, oh shit, like how does this guy know so much?
I think he thinks about the universe in a way that most people don't. And
Yeah.
that's what attracts a lot of people to him. And that's why, in my personal opinion, when we when you look at Nothing Held Back or Fast Forward, why people are actually doing is because there's a consistent effort on identifying your limiting beliefs and working through them. In
Mm,
addition to that, he teaches you how to think instead of what to think, which you're bringing in a lot more people who know how to think, right? Or people who challenge themselves so they can work through those problems better at a higher level and a faster pace than most other mentorships.
yeah, yeah. It's very interesting to see because there's truly not any other mastermind I've seen that has this kind of thinking and teaching. And in general,
No,
just even on that season, I'm like sitting there like, "Holy shit, like how does this just click for him?"
I have a theory on that, and I've actually talked to him about this a little bit, and I've sent him a couple of YouTube videos. There's this guy that I really, really like. His name is Justin Sung,
Mm-hmm.
and he is a teacher, I guess. And what he does is it teaches you how to learn, how to connect concepts. So
Yeah.
I made up my own analogy, but he talks about the way that you think, as in we receive isolated pieces of information, right? So I like to think about it like this. Let's say that you are on a street, right? You're on a path and there's only one light bulb, one lamp that's lit. Okay, that's your isolated piece of information. But what he teaches is how this one street, this one path connects to this other street here, and then the light bulb goes on, and all of a sudden you start to see it. Then you have another street that connects, light bulb goes on, and you start to connect these concepts. And so, what I believe and what I see from Alan is his ability to connect concepts at a very high level and be able to say, how are these concepts related to each other? What is a way that I can think about it? And what does it look like holistically? Then you can bring it down. And so, it's not just receiving information via isolated piece of information, but also making those connections and illuminating all the paths in which
Mm-hmm.
they can achieve the same outcome. That's how I see it.
Really, really awesome. How do you see yourself right now with all that? Because I've read a lot of your posts actually, like before this call, like going through, like, oh shit, this is really good stuff. I'm just curious, like, did you think about that before, or was it really after joining Fast Forward?
So I guess I've always learned differently than other people. I would go up to my high school teachers and say, hey, would it be cool if I took the test by me and you sitting here and having a discussion? And I went to multiple teachers and asked that. They go, no, that's not how we do it. And I go, okay, wonderful. I'll do it the way that you do it. I guess. Fine, fuck
Mm-hmm.
it. And so I've always liked to ask questions. So I've always asked questions. Another good example is when I wrestled when in high school, even when I would win, I'd go to my coach like, hey, what can I do better? He goes, what do you mean you can do better? You won. And I go, yeah, but there are things that I messed up on. Like, why did he score 3 points? How come I got turned over here? What happened here? And it's just always asking those questions. And so I've always asked that and try to make things connect. And then the past, since I've started my own journey and trying to connect the dots and trying to figure this part out, I became very invested. Even my mom came and she goes, I never thought that you would read as much as you do. She goes, I've never seen you read. Because when you would read, you would crawl underneath our table, our kitchen table, and fall asleep with the book open so that I couldn't see you. She goes, you just wouldn't read. And so she was going, how, like, what made you change? And I go, well, for me, I was able to dictate my own pace. I was able to open up multiple different pieces of material and just start to make connections. So that to my head always made sense. Then a little bit before I started, like, before I joined Fast Forward, my mind started to make connections because when I started to hire mentors, I started to realize that they looked at business differently.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I got really intrigued in how to learn. So then I found Justin. Then at the same time, I found Alan. And at the same time, I kind of started studying both of those. And I go, oh, that's a recipe for just so much growth. And so I guess I've always been that way. A little bit of a monologue there on how I got there, how I've always thought.
That's awesome. How would you describe the way you started? What's your background story?
So how I started was very interesting. I was walking down my stairs in my old house, and I guess, I mean, how far back do you want to go? Do you want to go most recent or do you want to go
as far as you want, man. Like, I'm just curious.
I'm just curious. So I've always wanted to build my own thing. I built my own little first bike shop at my old, like, where I
Nice.
used to live, Cottonwood Heights, and I would put up the signs everywhere. It's $5, I'll fix your bike. And
No matter
my
what.
first bike, yeah, no matter what, I had no clue, right? My dad goes, "That sounds great, go do it." Everybody else was opening a lemonade stand. I'm like, "Fuck a lemonade stand." I go, we're gonna just fix some bikes and shit. By the way, I had no clue how to fix bikes well. I just fixed mine a handful of times, so I could do that. Then the first guy that took me up on it paid me $5, and I couldn't fix his bike. And my dad goes, "You gotta go return it, and then return his money." I said, "Oh damn, I don't want to do that." But my
First
family
refund.
came. Yeah, first refund the first thing, and I close it down the day after. I guess that was my first taste in it. And my dad and my mom, my family came here from Brazil. They, my dad worked for, so when we were really young, we'd wake up about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. We'd wrap up newspapers, we'd deliver them in our apartment complex. And that's what we did. My mom would clean people's houses. We would deliver papers. My dad then started working with this janitorial business called ServCorp. From there, they were going, I think, bankrupt, I believe, and they were selling off pieces of their franchise. And the way
Mhm.
that worked, what the way that looked like was you bought a piece of the franchise, which means you got a handful of stores that you paid for, kind of deal. So he got a handful of those, and then he kind of just started on his own journey. And I just watched him go through it with him and my mom, and became incredibly interested. And then when I went to college, I dropped out of college about a year and a half. Nah, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I only went because my dad goes, "Vinny, you need to go to college. We immigrated here from Brazil. This is what we do." And I go, "I don't want to do that." I
Not my
told
path.
them, "Yeah, no, not my path at all." And I
Yeah.
told them what I wanted to do. Said, "Well, do you know what you want your major to be?" And I said, "Yes, in business." And they go, "Okay, well, take gym, take human studies, take geology." And I go, "Why? I know what I want to do. Like, I don't get it. Why am I taking these classes?" And so yeah, I dropped out. And then I was walking down my stairs one day, about 2017, in my old house, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna build. And during that time, I was also I've always been into lifting. I've always
Mhm.
been to researching what makes a really strong product, what ingredients work well, what how they're synergistic with each other. I've done that since I was probably in eighth grade. I've always enjoyed that because I
Yeah.
was always a little bit chubby, so I was going, I'm looking for ways to get really good. Like I was taking creatine when people thought
Dude,
creatine
you're
was still
big.
steroids. Yes, I was
I've
like,
seen your
yo,
pictures. You're a giant.
yeah. I've been working out since 2008, right? So it kind of makes sense. I mean, we've been doing it for almost 2 decades, give or take,
Awesome.
right? And I just fell in love with that process. And then I said, I'm going to go create a nootropic because I also like to game. I'm going to create a nootropic for gamers. I said, I know how they want to feel because I've competed in multiple different competitions when it comes to gaming.
Oh shit.
So, like, all right, cool. Like, I know how I want this to go. So I went into this website called examine.com, which had unbiased resources, right? That's built by two guys with PhDs and like biochemistry and all this stuff. This was very trusted. It was what I used to build my own and to formulate my own pre-workouts. So I'd get different ingredients of pre-workouts, put it together, put crystal light in it. And I'm like, oh, that's mine right there. Go, how do you have so many supplements? I go, well, actually, that just go just in one serving, just to make sure that I have the proper dosage for everything.
Do you
And
still run that company or no?
nope, nope. I closed it down in 2022,
Hmm.
February 2022. One, because that was my first intro to doing this by myself, right? I took out a $30,000 SBA loan,
Hmm.
and it was my first introduction to knowing what mentors look like, someone who would assist me. Because when I went there, I went to Salt Lake Community College. When I did that, I went to Salt Lake Community College. I go, hey, by the way, I don't know shit about fuck, but this is a product I want to build. The guy goes, well, good thing. Like, I know about supplements, and yeah, you open up your store here in Shopify. And I go, this is super, super interesting. And officially launched in 2019,
Hmm.
and I closed it down in 2022. Yes, the answer was because it wasn't growing too much, right? I was still learning. I went through a lot of learning during that time. Supply chain fucked me when coronavirus came out, when I was releasing new flavors.
It was a rough time to
The
start.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So I got a really good minimum quantity order and a great price. And then the manufacturer that I worked with here in Utah called Elite Manufacturing decided to literally double their price. And I'm going, dude. He goes, yeah, that's just how it's gonna be. So let's find a new manufacturer, which their minimum quantity order was significantly lower, which was wonderful, but their quality of the flavors wasn't on par.
Yeah.
And then I had opened up, by that time I had split from the agency that I was working with and helped scale and decided I'm going to go my own path. And then I said, you know what? Screw doing too many things at once. I'm going to focus on one thing. That's it. Nothing else. I go, so I'm closing Triumph down and we're done. All right, cool.
But
That was a monologue. My bad.
no worries, no worries. It's super cool to me. And just out of
Yeah.
curiosity, like you said a little bit about your parents before, like before you started this company, how
Mhm.
was the conversation about it with them?
With my parents,
Yeah, yeah, like how did they respond to it?
they loved them. My dad goes, yeah, go for it. Because you know what you're getting yourself into. And I go, I think so. I'm not sure. I
Oh,
have
that's
no
awesome.
clue. I
Yeah,
go, I'm not
usually,
really sure what I'm doing here.
usually when I have similar conversations about like starting your own thing with immigrants, I feel like it gets very, very hard talking about it with your family the first few years, and not until maybe anywhere between 5 to 10 years, and either making a lot of money or just having something to show them. It just gets very hard. I'm just wondering like your view on that with family and how you deal with it, or the conversation you've had. Like, how do you explain to them like, oh, I do this online marketing thing, or like do stuff online? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, how does it even work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that I have a different perspective than most people, and also I have a different family than most people, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm very fortunate to have parents who believed in the American dream and then
Yeah,
immigrated here and didn't take the traditional route. My dad bought part of a franchise and started to build this company. He's been running it for the last 26 years, right? And so you can't explain that to say, hey, I'm going to go to a different country, not know how to speak the language, and then buy this thing because I'm going to sell my van and then buy this company. And I'm not really sure how to run it, but I'll just figure it the fuck out kind of deal. And I explain that to all the family back in Brazil, right? How do you do that? Anyway, so I guess
yeah,
in his way, in his mind, he goes, yeah, I get that. I know what it's like to take on some risk. He goes, it's a lot of money that you're taking on. Are you okay with it? And he actually supported me. He goes, I know who to talk to. Like, I have this banker. He's a wonderful guy. He worked for US Bank because he can help you make sure that we work out this SBA loan and how it's going to look, right? And he goes, you know, that it's going to be like paying for a car, right? A good quality car every single month. It's about a $600 payment for like something odd amount of years, right? And it's funny because he understood that really well. Because at the same time, I was also working with the family business and I was building that out to the side, right? That was my thing. And so, but when I split off and did Bring Home the Bacon and I told him about the publishing offer, that's when he goes, I still don't know what you do. And I was like, wait, I've been doing online marketing for years. And what? You know, he goes, no, I can't grasp it because I don't get it. Why do you
yeah. I
put
can
money into other
relate to
people's companies? Yeah.
that.
That part he didn't, he still doesn't quite understand. And I go, yeah, well, fair.
Yeah, I think the first 3, maybe 4 or 5 years, at least to my parents, they were like, "Are you sure you're not a gangster, like selling drugs? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You can make money with your laptop. Why don't you just get a job?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm never getting any job."
I'm like, sure. Yeah, like I kind of am a gangster.
An
I
online,
saw, yeah, I'm an online gangster. I give them dopamine hits every time they buy a course.
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny how that goes. Like my dad pretty much gave up everything he had, like his entire life. He's like, yeah, I'll just go to the Netherlands. Like I'll figure it out. Like no plan, just a little bit of saving. Like yeah, I'll figure it out. And then when I go to him, like yeah, I'll just figure it out. They're like, no, no, makes no sense. Makes no sense.
You can't do that. Yeah, it's funny how parents try to protect us from the exact things that they did.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting how that works. My dad failed 4 times, went back to Brazil 4 times.
Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. So like he didn't come here. He came in here in early like 1990, and then had my brother around 1991. Then went back to Brazil. Then went back to Florida. Then had me, and then went back to Brazil. Stayed there for a couple of years. We came back around the 2000s. So he's like hopping back up because multiple times he had just gone completely broke and just gone back and made some additional money in Brazil. And they just came back and tried again.
Was it easier for him to make money in Brazil and save up and then try it again?
Yeah. So my dad started working when he was 7. And
Mm.
he started working when he was super young. So did my mom. My mom started working when she was 10. And so they were working since they were super young. So because of that, my dad had built some really good skills. And I mean, by no means was it anything less than like anything grandiose. It was just, we had an old beat up car. That's how it was. And that was okay. And he worked with a company called Embraer that I believe crafted and helped manufacture airplane parts for Boeing.
Shit.
And so he wasn't like high up, but he was part of the person who
Yeah.
drew the stuff, like helped create some of the stuff. So he would go there, go back, do that, and plus he had his brother who could give him work and stuff, and my mom who could do stuff because they had connections in Brazil, like family and stuff. So they go back, make some money, even though the currency is very different, right? Right
Hmm.
now, currently it's for every $1, it's 6 reais. So they had to save up quite a bit, but just enough just to get back over here and try it one more time, kind of deal.
4 times the charm?
I think so. I don't want to wait 4 times, so maybe. I don't know if I'm ready to take on that yet. No, I'm just kidding. Good.
What would you tell someone who's like kind of hesitant whether they should make the jump or not?
If they're hesitating to make the jump
Hmm.
to start online marketing,
Yeah, to just start anything for themselves.
start anything themselves, shoot. I'd say the first thing is embrace uncertainty. I go,
Yeah.
anything in life is uncertain. I was actually talking about this with my best friend. I'd definitely consider him a brother. We've been through so much together. I was talking to his wife, and she was talking to me about what she had gone through, and a lot of the uncertainty comes from our inability to control outcomes. And I told her, I said, okay, if you can't control the outcome, what can you control? She goes, what I do. And I go, what is what you do? She goes, do you mean my actions? And I go, exactly, I mean your actions. So what you can control is your action. You're always going to feel fear because no matter what happens, if you're in a stage of growth where you're going from $100,000 a year, where you're making 10K and you're living pretty comfortably, you're going, man, I got some good money coming into the bank. There's a next stage and level that you need to get to that is going to present you a new level of fear. I've given this analogy multiple times to people, and I said this. It's called exposure therapy, right? The first time you take the leap, you expose yourself to two things: fear and uncertainty. You're afraid because things are uncertain. You're afraid because you're uncertain of the outcome, right? Super simple. If you look at it that way, if it's that linear in someone's mind, right? You're afraid that you don't have enough knowledge. You're afraid that you don't have enough experience. You're afraid if will I be able to make income this next month? Right? Will I be able to pay for my home, for my car, for this, for that? Those are all things that are perfectly okay to be afraid of. And because we live in the society of where everything is directly tied to outcomes, a good
Hmm.
example is I go and I look at someone's Instagram and they have a Lambo. That's the outcome that I want. Therefore, if I take this leap, I'm going to get that outcome. And when I don't,
Yeah.
I feel a lot of fear and I feel, well, okay, well, maybe I don't do this. Maybe I just this, right? You go down this whole rabbit hole. Cool. So I think about it as exposure therapy. There's different levels of exposure therapy, going back to that. And it's this. Well, let's say you're afraid of spiders. Okay, I'm afraid of spiders because I'm uncertain as to, well, I've heard that if I let a spider land on me, that I'll get bit and therefore I'll go to the hospital and I could die. And that's the outcome. Like it's, they also scary looking motherfuckers. Like spiders look creepy as shit, right? So okay, if I expose myself to a spider, let's say I expose myself to a daddy long leg, they can't bite you. They're venomous, but they really can't hurt you, right? And I'll let them crawl on me, right? Oh wow, that's a first level. It's a small spider. It's a very small spider. Can't do anything, can't hurt me. Okay. Well, I was afraid the first time, but now I do that long enough, I will no longer feel afraid of that spider at that level. Okay, so that's $100,000 made per
Mhm.
year. The next level that you have to get to, you have to expose yourself to a new level of fear. Okay, so now what I'm looking at is I want to make $1 million a year. Okay, now I want to put a tarantula on me. Fuck, tarantula's big, big, hairy bastard. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm exposing myself. Okay, fine. You know what? I'll let it be. Like, there are always going to be levels in which you're going to have different levels of fear. The next time is instead of just a tarantula, you're going to put a poisonous spider on you. Like, dude, I could lose my life. I could lose everything because there are levels in which you're going to feel that. I'm uncertain if this thing is going to bite me. I'm uncertain of this, but you expose yourself to that. So allow yourself to have lower levels of exposure and
Mhm.
scale up that process. But you're going to have that exposure no matter what you do in life. Might as well do it for something that's worth fighting for.
Yeah, I think with every levels there will be new problems, but those
Right.
problems at one point, like they just don't really seem like problems anymore. Like just do them long enough and like, oh, I know exactly what to do. So the
Right.
old problems just become nothing, and then the new problems slowly become nothing either. Like you just normalize it every step of the way.
Exactly. So now the daddy long legs isn't scary. Now the tarantula isn't scary, right? Now you are literally getting to those different levels of exposure where those things are no longer a fear to you. Instead, you embrace them and you understand that I can do this repeatedly and I know that I won't get hurt.
Did you personally have any recent fears you had to overcome to get to the
Oh,
level you are today?
oh yeah, this year. This year I have literally, so last year, and I've said this to a lot of people, and I said this to my mom the other day, and she goes, "Yeah, that's so true, but no one talks about it." I go, "Right? Like, no one talks about this. It is more difficult to maintain seven figures than it is to make seven figures."
Good.
Yeah, right? Yeah, right. It is. And why does no one talk about it? Okay, I have so many theories around stuff like this. I'll just hone it down because I could tend to over explain. And so,
Dude, not an issue at all. I love hearing this.
okay, awesome, cool. Then, so my first initial thought here is last year in 11 months, we made 1 million. It was wonderful. Like when my wife took a picture, and I'm just saying this because it was like my first time that right I went through all of this myself, right? And my wife took a picture. She goes, "Honey," because she does my finances. She's wonderful. She goes, "Honey, look at this." I looked at it and I freaking cried. I just cried, just straight up. And I looked at her and I go, "Back to work." Like this is the first thing that I thought. Back to work. I go, "We ain't even close to being done yet." Right? And she goes, "Not even close." We both went and worked probably until 9 or 10 o'clock that night, and we continued to do that. And this year, I let go of one of my biggest clients. Seriously, client
Oh
that was
shit.
bringing in 5 figures constantly every single month. I mean, this client to us was worth about 300 to 400K a year,
That's
and I
scary.
let go of him. Yeah, and I let go of him for personal reasons, and I won't go into that. I just uh, prefer to keep that one off the side. But I let go of him, and I thought to myself, "Damn, that's scary."
Yeah.
Like, fuck, because I have my team with me, right? I know this very well. And if you see some of my posts, I'm not alone. I know that. I'm well aware. And the thing is, I most of the sports that I played were I did jujitsu, I did MMA, right? I wrestled. Most of the sports that I played were individual sports. And so the levels of fear that I dealt with this year were very, very interesting. One, well, maintaining seven figures, it means I've got to realign my path. I can go out there and go get clients all day long. That's not a problem. But I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to grow. And that was more publishing offers and my own offer. Because of that, I couldn't just go in there and start bringing in a bunch of Facebook ad clients or a bunch of sales clients or doing this type of stuff. I needed to focus and double down on building out what it looks like to really scale these consistent publishing clients. And that was a big decision to make. I just let go of my biggest client. I had to make that decision in time, and I have a team. Fuck.
It's scary having so many people on payroll and also knowing like their families also rely on their income and their income
Right?
comes from you. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of responsibilities.
It is. And so what my wife goes, well, what are we gonna do? I go, cut my income. I go, if I have white label clients that I have money coming in from me, take that money, give it to them. Like, it doesn't matter. They are important. And I had to make that decision. And she goes, like, well, we're gonna cut our stuff in half. And I go, yeah, we will. She goes, okay, we'll get it done. And during this time, I had to make that decision, and we are in this limbo. Okay, so backtrack real quick, because during that time also I had to work on being a better leader. And there's a lot of fear that comes with being a better leader. Am I doing good enough? Right? Is everything that I'm doing for them clear? Are they clear on their objectives and their tasks? Are their expectations clear? This stuff, because it can be really difficult to make sure that everybody has clarity on everything that's going on and managing the team, and also trying to find clients, and also trying to bring in money. Right? All of those things compound, right? And for me, I go, in March, I looked at my wife and I said to her, I can feel it in my stomach. We need to rebuild the team. I could
Holy
feel
shit.
it. And I know this. And by that time, I had like my partner who I would work with last year. He was absolutely wonderful. And I talked to him, and he was having a baby. He's an absolutely incredible guy. And he goes, hey, I need steady income because we're a little bit volatile right now. And I go, yeah, dude, makes sense. Go do your thing. And he goes, yeah, dude, thanks. I appreciate it. So we did this thing. So for a couple months by myself, then my stomach, I could feel it. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to continue building a team and reconstructing a team. I go, but I know what that looks like. But in order to do that, I need to become a different person. And that's a whole nother level of fear, because who that person was, I'm uncertain of. And that's okay. So it's like that, those are multiple steps of fear that happen this year. In addition to that, we're in this limbo right now where we release clients, publishing clients, we release 4 new publishing clients in the next couple of weeks. Like they're going to be dripped within the next couple of weeks. And they're all starting, and that all publishing clients are investments that we make from our own money.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, damn. So yeah, multiple different levels of stages of fear.
When you talk about like becoming a better leader, like were there specific things you noticed, or like you just weren't sure yet, or you know right now?
So there are things that I noticed. When I had conversations with people on what it looks like to become a better leader, they said, well, you just need to delegate. And I go, yeah, you just need to delegate. Yeah, no problem. And I go, come on, seriously? I go, like, that's a platitude. You just need to delegate. Delegate what? Like, hey, by the way, you do this. No, it's not just delegating. It's setting proper expectations. It's managing your own emotions, because things could take longer than you think they do. And if you don't have clarity on, one, what the process is and what needs to be done, and two, the outcome and the result that you're looking for, by the way, you can't control the outcome, but you can't control the action, right, that you take. So the process is the most important thing, which is the actions that my teams have to take, which means I had to sit down and go through each and every little thing and go, all right, is everything super, super clear? And if
Yeah.
it's not clear, then it's my fault. So that means the project takes longer and I didn't have a time estimate of how long it was going to take. I had to accept that responsibility. So people say, well, it's hard to delegate because people can't do it like you. And I said, and I've challenged this so much. I said, nope, it's not because it's you can't trust them. It's because you're not willing to pay people enough that you can trust. You want to pay the bare minimum and you want to ask the most. So you're paying for the bare minimum. Exactly. I go, the discrepancy is there. I go,
Yeah.
so I told my wife, I go, we're going to find people and we're going to pay them. I'm going to find great people and I'm going to pay them what they want to be paid.
Yeah.
And if not, I'll find ways to incentivize them so they can get paid the most. I go, because what most people do when they delegate is like, how can I get this for $1,000? How can I get it for like 1,500? How can I do that? And they go, I can't trust anybody. It's like, my ass, dude. You're not even willing to pay like a full-time salary for someone to come in and do full-time work, but you expect that from them. Like, no, dude, absolutely not. I've challenged that notion so much time. That's why it's not just delegating. And it's not about your ego either. It's the fact that you want to keep so much to the profits that you have, that you want to continue lining your pockets with, that you aren't willing to pay high quality people to do high quality work so that you can entrust them. And with that comes a new set of skills as being a leader, because who the fuck is going to follow someone who can't lead a high quality team? They're just going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else. Right. And so I challenge that notion quite often. And people go, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, right.
I love
Sorry,
that.
that's my whole thought.
No, I really love that. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny because lately I see a lot of these people like, oh yeah, but you can just get cheap VAs, or you can set up a GPT bot and it's all taken care of. And it's like, that's not how it works. Like you can't just try to maximize your profit in the short run. Like you're not just around for the next 3 months. if you're gonna run a company, you're gonna be around for at least the next 5 to 10 years. So if you're gonna put out shit quality, no one's gonna stick around. Your churn rate's gonna be super, super high. No one's gonna stay. Your reputation is gonna be non-existent. You're never gonna grow a great company without great people.
110%. And you have to pay great people good or great money and incentivize them. Everyone on my team has incentives to make additional money. Everybody. They have their base, and every single one person on my team can also make commission. So even in my funnel builder, he goes, how's your funnel builder going to make commission? Well, you're definitely not going to make commission off of the low ticket. You know why? Because it isn't worth for you to make $10 on every sale. Like that isn't worth it enough for you. You know what's worth it for you? Cool. Are you comfortable with writing emails? Are you comfortable with that being a part of your scope of work and making sure that some of those emails book a call? If the answer is yes, because like you get to choose that, then every person that books a call that shows up, that closes, I'll give you a percentage the same way that I would a setter. That's 5%.
Wow.
There we go. Now you're making real money, which means you can take home 10K every month just by working here because you're incentivized. Our incentives are aligned, and I'm willing to pay you the money because I pay a setter anyways to book that call. You're booking that call through email. Why don't I pay you commission for that and give you a base plus commission? I got my director of sales. Like we're working out a great agreement in order to be able to give him more commission because I want to pay him more because he's a wonderful guy. Now, my creative strategist that I work right alongside, I haven't been able to find a great one yet, but I told him that I'm willing to build out an offer with him that he could take a lot of the profits from there. Like even align incentives here with those people because if you want great people on your team, you're gonna have to pay them good money and
Are
give
there
them
any
roadmaps on
other?
where they can grow.
Sorry.
No,
Are
you're
there any other incentives you use besides the money? Because personally, I feel like it's very hard to keep people around when it's just about the money. Like over
of course.
time, like they also get used to certain amounts. Like, oh, this is now the
Hmm.
new standard. So how do you keep them incentivized with other things as well?
That's a wonderful question, and I think that's one that I'm learning. I could tell you what I'm
Gotcha.
doing.
Hmm.
I can't tell you definitively how else because I have, and you're right, and I have lost people on incentivizing them just on money. The work that I'm working on right now is one, listening to them, right? This is what I'm doing right now. I'm not saying I have the answers. It's what I'm doing. And I feel it intuitively, right? One, I think, how would I want to be treated? If
Hmm.
I'm on a team that's high performing, that's building some cool shit, how do I want to be treated? One, I'd like to be incentivized to be able to always grow more. And there are levels and phases in which I can grow. So I try to, for my team, is saying, hey, we get to here, right? And we have these clients. I want to move you up to this position. I want you to get this. I want them to have future in here where they can continue to grow with me because I want my business to last for a long period of time, right? And we have big goals. Two, the one is listen to them. Sit down on a call with them and listen to them. Hey, you struggling with this? You struggling with this? It's like, yeah, how can I support you? My goal, my number one goal is always how do we show up for our team and how do we support them? Like, hey,
Awesome.
you're struggling with something. It's like, that's perfectly okay. Come to me. Come talk to me about it. Hey, Vinny, I missed this due date. All right, hey, I'm going to be like, hey, I completely understand that you missed that due date. And also, I need this done by this time, right? And it's trying to identify how to lead it with compassion, but also accountability. And
Mm.
that balance is insanely hard,
Yeah.
like super fucking hard. And so it's being there supporting them. And then creating a culture in which they could come to us and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to be gone for a couple of days. Wonderful. Hey, by the way, here are tasks. Just make sure we finish these up before you go, and you're good to go. Do your thing, right? In addition to that, I also don't. If they're working with me full time, I'm not sending them messages unless I absolutely need to. At 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, saying, "Hey, demanded to answer." Like they've got their 9 to 5, and I'm sending the messages from 9 to 5. I'm not sending the messages on. There are moments on which I'll send it and I'll say, "Hey, don't respond to this. This is just me thinking out loud. I got to get this out."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And they don't have to, and I don't go next day on Monday and go, "How come you didn't answer me on Saturday? How come you didn't answer me on Sunday?" You know what I mean? Because it's like I
Not up
fucking
to
don't work
speed,
those days.
guys.
Yeah, it's like because I don't work that day, and so I try to plan everything around those times and really respect their time and their boundaries. And also ask them if I ask something outside of the scope of work, which I'm getting better at, because sometimes we don't know what scope creep looks like because there are some things that people do intuitively, right?
Hmm.
Such as, let's say that you're building out you're building out the funnel, but there are some things there that you need to do, such as uh, create the opt-ins, right, and make sure that all gets verified, and like these little things that maybe I didn't think of, but people go, well, it's not really within the scope, but I do it because I know I'm supposed to do it. And I go, okay, well, do I take that off your hands? Is that something you want to do? Is that something you not want to do? And then give them the flexibility and the ability to say no and be okay with that no. I always tell them, it's like, by the way, you can say no to this and it won't affect anything in the way that we feel and the way that we operate as a team. You can say no. That's acceptable.
So there's a
And I
lot
always
of
people say,
freedom and flexibility.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
just think about how would I want to be treated, right? And
yeah.
if I could break down those small action items into something that I can just take away from them and I can hire someone else to do it, or we can do it like me and my wife can do it, then we'll do it, right? Or we'll hire someone else to do it. And then also being able to give them the room and the space to say no to certain things and know that it's not going to just whiplash back on them.
Yeah. I feel like majority of people don't even, of course, they care about the money, but it's much more about like, are you appreciated? Do you feel
Right.
a part of a community? Do you feel part of the team? And is it, yeah, in general, like, do you just love talking to these people? And like, do I love being here? Do I love my position within the company? Which means so much more. So I know a lot of people like they probably kind of know they could maybe make a little more somewhere else, but they would never do it because this company offers them stuff that goes beyond money. Like their the way they look at themselves, the way they go to work, the way they do everything every single day, and their colleagues and team, they enjoy the process and they generally want the company to grow rather than just making a little more but hating every single day and just hating what they're doing and not feeling
Right.
appreciated. Like
Yeah.
I had a really great job, like I don't know how many years ago. And one of my first like real jobs, and it was awesome. Like I loved doing it. Like it was a great company mission. But in general, at one point, I just didn't feel appreciated. I was like, oh shit, like I'm
Mhm.
doing all this extra stuff. Like I'm going the extra mile like every single day, but it's just not worth it. Like I don't care how much money I'm making. Like I feel like it's just nothing matters. Like what I do this, what I do this, same shit. Like doesn't matter. Like you know what? I'll just do my own thing. Um,
Mhm.
even though like we really had like an amazing product and was helping hundreds of thousands of people every single day. And like I love that part, but I cannot be part of a company that doesn't treat the team the way they should treat it. And that was yeah, just invaluable. N- No money could compensate for that.
It's true. It's true because there's a lot of moments in which, and again, I am by no means perfect. Period. Right? Let's just say that I have my own mistakes in which I make. Like, let's just say that out loud, right? Because I don't like to feel like, oh, like you kind of know. I do things based on how I want to be treated. So I do agree with you that showing gratitude. I'll send messages, private messages to my teammates if they did a really kick-ass job, and I go, hey, brother, you crushed it this week. Here are all the things that you fucking did that crushed. I'm super grateful for you doing these things. Like, thank you so much. I'm excited to
Awesome.
see you next week. And I do that personally. And I have a guy, I do that. I do that through people on my team. Or if they do something extra, I'll say, hey, dude, I'm super grateful for that. You have no idea. Right. I know it wasn't meant to be extra. Even at moments, I'll go, hey, I see that you did that thing extra. I'm really grateful. And it wasn't in your scope of work. And would you like to get paid additional for that? Because I'm like, that's how I would want to be treated. Because I've been treated like shit before. I've had people ask all the fucking things of me and they didn't give a fuck. They didn't
They just
care.
expect it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Expect it, but don't appreciate it.
exactly. And that's where a lot of leaders, in my opinion, go wrong. It goes all the way back to when you're building a good team and you're becoming a better leader. People saying, well, just delegate things. That's why I feel that it is such a vague statement because you don't have the experience of what it looks like to actually lead a team of high value.
Yeah.
And everybody always dwindles it down to, well, it's hard to trust people to do the right job. Did you set them up to grow and succeed? Did you set them up to do it? Because as a leader, that's your job, right? Did you hire people for the cheapest that you possibly could? Because if you can't afford it, do it your fucking self. Don't just go out and hire people and then say you can't trust people to do it. Like if you're unwilling to pay for high quality people, then you probably should just do it yourself.
Yeah. I think
Like,
a
well, I
lot
don't
of
have enough
leaders
time to.
like have that same issue every single time. Like, yeah, it's these hundreds of people that mess up. But what's the common factor? Like it's you. Like,
Yeah, it
they coach
is.
for you. Like maybe you're the issue.
Yeah, maybe you're being cheap and you're unwilling to cut your own profits to take home money so that you can actually build a business. And I've challenged that so much with people who come up to me and like talk about like, well, and are you building a team? Like, I go, yeah, and they get paid. It's like, well, then you're willing to take home less because I'm looking at the future. Oh, what if everything fails? I go, that's possible. You don't think I consider that factor? I've already talked about it. I talked about my wife. I go, we're gonna take home less, and it's possible that things will fail because we're so honed in on just this one thing. I go, so cash flow will be tight. Stuff will like this stuff will be happening. I go, I know this for sure, and it's possible that we could fail. Like, well,
It's part of the game.
yeah, yeah. I go, this is long term. I go, we ain't playing for the short term. I want to build something fucking cool. You want to think that want it to be a legacy brand, something that stays around for a long period of time, not something that
Love
just
that.
fuck. I even say that to my clients. When I bring on new clients, I go, what is your realistic expectation? Like, really, honestly speaking. They go, well, yeah, I'd like to make money within 30 days, so on and so forth, right? And I go, okay,
Nope.
cool. Let me tell. Yeah, I go seriously. I go, let me tell you how I work. I'm gonna set realistic expectations. I built this before. I go, you're looking to build a business or you're looking for just cash flow? They go, well, I kind of really need cash flow. And I'm like, okay, so what are you doing right now to increase cash flow? Well, this is like one of the things I'm doing. I go, okay, if you're gonna be tight on cash flow, I go, then it's good not to work together. I go, because I'm gonna set realistic expectations. We're building a business. We're not just building offers. I go, if that's the case, this is gonna take longer than you think. And if you're not okay with that expectation, then we probably won't work well together.
Yeah.
And I had a client, he goes, yeah, I'm in. Goes, the other people I've talked to is just talking about building offers, just one offs. He goes, you actually want to build a business. And I go, right. I go, that's the only thing I give a fuck about.
Sustainability. Yeah. I think most people just want money now. Like it's just instant. Like have to see it today, ROAS. But there's nothing about like, oh, but will we be around for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years? Whereas most offers, like I think 2 or 3 years now, I just never see them ever again. Yeah, we bail out. We'll try some different offer.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't look at the longevity of what it actually looks like to continuously build.
Mm.
And I actually created an entire system around this. So when I let go of biggest client, I had so much like the month of June, I was numb. I just didn't feel shit. And I'm a person that's incredibly passionate and as I say passionate, but the funny thing is that I don't follow the same platitudes. It's like, hey, follow your passion. And I go, do you think that the days that I'm sitting down here fucking suffering, that I'm just following my passion and that's what gets me through the day? I go, that's some bullshit. I could tell you that right now. Pretty sure I'm not looking up a wall and going like, yeah, that's my purpose and my passion. I go, I'm not doing that. I'm fucking suffering. It's 5 o'clock in the fucking morning, and I know that my client's pissed off at me and things aren't going too well, and this shit sucks. Like, you think I'm looking at my passion, like, oh, maybe I should switch passions. Like, but I'm like, but I'm the kind of person that I feel things, right? I feel
Hmm.
things, and so going numb was interesting for me. In the month of June, I went just completely numb. I was void of all emotion. I was void of just sadness, happiness, anything. And then from that sense, my mind was interestingly allowed to create space for creativity. And because of that, before that, I actually came with a breakthrough, and the breakthrough was so fucking cool for me. When you're numb, you can come up with a breakthrough. How does that even work? But it did, and I built it all out. I'm like, oh, this is cool, because then we take it, piece it together, and that's how you build the business in the long run. And then I watched it being confirmed over and over again with all the posts and what people were saying. When Alex Hormozy was saying, I go, shit, we're on a different path. It's like, that's fucking cool.
Awesome. I feel like 2024 is going to be huge for you.
I hope so, man. If not, I'm gonna learn a fuck ton.
Oh, you've got several offers set up for the next few weeks, you said, or August, I assume.
Yeah, so we have
Yeah.
our low ticket offer that I crafted plus our done
Hmm.
with you offer.
Yeah.
So our ascension path is really clear. We give them the start from the done with you on the low ticket offer. They ascend up to the done with you. Then once they get to a high enough revenue point and they've used our methods, then we go, hey, okay, we'll invest into your business and turn them into publishing clients. So
Awesome.
that's the map for that one. And then we have three more publishing offers. We have a dissertation, so a guy who has a PhD who helps you to finish your dissertation. We thought this was a really cool niche. We loved it. Great offer. He's already making money from it, but not enough, so we can maximize that. An FBA offer for Amazon, which I thought was really good. I really liked it. And then a entrepreneurship masterclass. This guy had spoken on stage with Tony Robbins. He did great. He's
Nice.
awesome. And so we're building out those four offers that we launch.
What are the qualifications you look for before you start investing in a offer?
Yeah, I love it that you say that because we're also redefining our qualifications and our
Hmm.
roadmap. But I will start off first. Is there market demand for it? Right? Does the market even want it? Because if
Hmm.
not, then fine. I've invested into last year, I filled two publishing offers. Right? I lost about 27K in 3 months. Yeah.
That,
And so,
that's
and
not
now,
nothing.
no, that's not nothing. And I had to refund a client, and because I gave them a guarantee that in 3 months we'll make your money back, and we didn't. And it wasn't due to the lack of sales calls, due to the lack of purchases. It was due to the lack of the market. The market was piss fucking broke.
Shit.
And I did not do my due diligence because I had already built an offer that had already scaled up to about 750,000 during that time. And I was like, yeah, we can do this. Like, we know how to do this. We know the process, we know the systems. And so that's one of the things I look for. So, yes, showing you guys like straight up, that is how that worked. And so, market, it's a big thing. The second thing is, do they have case studies? And can I talk to those case studies? Can I talk to those people? I want at least a minimum of, sometimes I'll go as low as 5, but I like 10. Minimum is 10 case studies,
Hmm.
right? And then what I also like to look at is, do you have a course already? If so, has it sold? Even to warm traffic, that's fine because we can
Hmm.
redevelop it, recreate it. What is the price of your high ticket? Anything over $5,000 we'll accept. Anything
Hmm.
under, we'll go, can you get it to 5,000? Have you sold it for 5,000? And I look for that. I look for at least minimum 5 sales at that 5,000 range or higher, right? Because we have a very specific goal. We want to get to a gross profit of 7,500 to get net profit about 3,300. We want to get to that range for our clients because I have a very specific goal. And I want to make sure that we can bump that up, and also that market, that when we bump it up, has enough purchasing power to be able to bump it up to that 7,500 gross profit, right? So those two things come in a lot. So, and then I like to look at one thing that we notice a big driving factor is, do they have social media, and if so, does it have authority? So we look for,
Ooh, love that.
that's a really important one, right? Do they have YouTube? Are they consistently posting? Are they on TikTok? Are they actually taking organic seriously? And if not, I can write down an organic strategy. I did that for both of the clients that I work with. I wrote down an organic strategy because they didn't have either of those. So those qualifications I look for because I had in the past with those published guys that I failed to qualify them in that manner.
Gotcha. I feel like having really good qualifications up front is gonna save you so many headaches in later. It's so
100%.
crazy. Like I have several stories. I'm like, yeah, I'll just take this project and I'll kind of do it. Like I think I know it, but later I'm like, oh shit, I messed up. I messed up so hard. I'm like, oh, I totally did not know the guru. I did not understand the company, and maybe I knew the audience, but like everything else was just this person or this company, and we just don't fit. Like it's just not gonna work. Expectations are kind of here and there. So maybe you could wing it for a couple months, but that's it. Like you'll see like nothing really works, nothing fits together, and it's also just not the best way of doing things for either one of you, and that just
Right.
sucks. So I would much rather just spend some time up front, like, cool, I'm just gonna sit down for a couple of weeks and like really look into this. Like, are we really a good fit? Because in the short run, yeah, maybe you'll have a little extra revenue, but in the long run, like, oh shit, like the reputation is worth so much more. Like you can't mess up half of everything you do. It's just not worth
Yeah.
taking the risk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Very, very true. Unless you have some type of guarantee, and that's what we did, right? And that's how we paid in the back 10 grand. I go, nope. And they were so kind. They're going, I love working with you because like we really are seeing so much traction. I go, I just can't invest into it anymore. That was my determining factor. I go, I can't invest into this anymore. I
Yeah.
don't have the funds to do that. And they were so kind about it. But that's realistic stuff, right? Because people don't really say anything about that.
I'll just share as like Stripe screenshots of how well it's going.
Ex- I have a whole thought on that, man. Don't even get me started. Like, I love screenshots. And also, I believe that we as entrepreneurs and as people, as humans in general, we are the reason, personally, why people think that there's overnight success. And I attribute it to two things. One, because we are afraid of what the public's going to say when we fail and when we are showing signs of struggle,
Hmm.
right? So our perception in the public's eye gives us a lot of shame. And so what do we not do to talk about the journey that we're on? We're not open. There's not an open dialogue about it because go back to one, you have too much shame. And so all we show is the end result, which then no one sees you building for the past 7, 8, 10 years. And they go, it was an overnight success. You know why? Because they had lives too. And so when you happen to pop up, you only showed up when it was the best. And no one could go all the way back down to when you were struggling and you were going through it and you were actually talking about it. So it's our own fault why people think there's overnight success. And yet we go onto online and say, oh, yeah, there's no such thing as overnight success. Like, yeah, but we fucking created that perception. And we don't take responsibility for that.
It's interesting
That's
that you
my
mentioned
theory.
that. Yeah.
That's my theory on it.
What's the what's your theory about growing your publishing offers? How do you go about it? And how do you have like a specific way of doing it, or do you really have to customize it per every single offer, or is there like one strategy that you keep following?
Oh, I love this question because it goes into the breakthrough that I had. Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, cool. So, um, I think that it would be good for. Can I give context on the breakthrough that I had,
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
because I think
Please
this
do.
ties in exactly to the question that you're asking. Okay, so let me find it because I sent it to I even sent it to a client and he loved it. He goes, "This is how you look at business." And I'm like, "Yes, right." And a lot of things that I like to do is bring the things that are in our subconscious to the conscious mind and discuss them vigorously and not attack them, but question them, right? So I question my own thoughts. For example, who the fuck is the voice in my head that says that I can't do something? So tying it all back to fear, it's like when someone takes the leap, say, ask yourself this question: who's the voice inside of my head that's saying that I should be afraid? And they go, well, it's mine. I go, nope, it's not. You know it's not. Dig deeper. Ask better questions. Sorry, tying it back to that. But I love that way, that way of looking at it. So
Hmm.
the breakthrough was like the way that we look at business is right, but the way that we grow a business isn't a secret. It's how we find common denominators across different departments that cause the business to grow. It's not that there's some secret out there. It's how we track the metrics and growth of the business. Use data to create feedback loops that allow us to know if something is working. Then, as Hormozy says it, do more of that. Then, when the market is more sophisticated, do better, then do more and repeat. But you can only repeat this process if you have data and gather feedback on what works. Business building is all about understanding the common denominators that increase the performance of each department. Once you have this locked down, then scaling in business is taking the common denominators and creating frameworks around this and repeating this process.
Awesome. And is that why you have the qualification? So you already have data you can look at?
Correct. I can
Awesome.
hop on any sales calls that they already had. I can listen to the people who've had success in the case studies and listen to their language. I can see any of the ads that they previously ran. I can see what's going on in their social media, who's following them, who's not, who's commenting, who's engaging, who's doing that, who's watching their YouTube. And I can start to see, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Because this leads back to how do we start scaling a successful publishing, right? After that breakthrough, what I've been trying to identify consistently is common denominators. What does a common denominator look like? Right? And so I'll send you 3 videos after this. And Hormozy talks about this 3 different times. He goes, I scaled the business in 120 days to 60 million, and to show you it's not a fluke. Okay. He does that 3 different times in 3 different videos, right? Showing you that he understands the common denominators of what makes a scale a business, which means every new client that he brings on, because he understands this, they fit that specific criteria, which means every time he brings them on, they have to fit this criteria because he knows these are the frameworks in order to cause that business to grow to 60 plus million a year. See how that works? It's fucking awesome.
Awesome. I love how passionate you are about it. That's really, really cool to see.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I guess the numbness is wearing off, so passion's back.
Awesome.
And
Are there
so that's how I
specific
look at it.
things? Are there specific things you immediately do, like to optimize it, or to immediately just okay, we need to do these things to like double the revenue or go to the next level? Like, are there specific things that you immediately go like, okay, cool, maybe it's open rates, maybe it's show up rates, maybe it's something in the sales call, or just increasing lead gen?
So the first thing that we do immediately with any new client, and we updated the roadmap here recently, is look at both offers. And what we identify specifically, and actually this is a process that I've been working on for the past week, is we look at both offers and we go, okay, is this fit in the market criteria on the front end? If yes, and then I want to look at previous data, right? And then what I want to do is go, okay, this is the front end offer. Then the first week of bringing on a new client, we looked at the offers and we define exactly what the offers are going to look like, because this also ties back into being a good leader. When you define that, the rest of the tasks for the team so that they can do the job at a very high quality, it informs the rest of it. Because, okay, now we have complete clarity on the front end offer. We determine the front end offer together as a team and the prices. Then we determine the back end offer and we clarify that. And then we talk to the client, hey, we might need to switch up this on the back end. Are you cool with that? And then I say yes. And I say no. It's like we need to add a little bit of these things here. That's what we do first and foremost. We determine the offers, period. That'll inform the rest. All of the other stuff, we're pretty much going to take on ourselves, right? It's going to be our front end inside of our funnel with our ads. And then it's going to be our emails with our setter and our closer. So everything else I have control over. So like the stuff that they have is nice, but it doesn't give me the full context, because sometimes most clients, they have never written down like, hey, this is my hypothesis as to why I sent over this specific email. And so this is my train of thought and this is what I'm looking to get out of it. They just kind of throw things up and pray for the best. So I take my internal, then we do in-depth market research where we start to look at the language patterns. We start to look at the different offers that are being ran. Sometimes we even opt into funnels. Sometimes we even hop on sales calls for other offers and see how they're doing it, what their frameworks are. And these are the processes that we take first. Offer first. That's going to inform everything else.
Awesome. I love it. That's really, really cool stuff.
Thanks.
Damn. Yeah, I'm just thinking about that, everything you just mentioned, like with the optimizing and everything around it. Like I do feel like if you have so much control over stuff, it just becomes so much easier. For example, I used to just be a copywriter, and I just felt like shit. There's so much other stuff that I just don't control. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what copy, whether it's just direct response email or like this story based guru value email, or whether it's just one link. Like you would just send out the links. I'm like, okay, cool, but I don't control anything else. All I control is this small part of the entire company. Whereas with yourself, I feel like, oh shit, like you literally take everything together you can make so many good changes and optimize everything together because it's synchronized, like it works together. But if my stuff's really good and this is not, probably not gonna work. If this stuff's really good but my stuff is not good, it's still not really gonna work. So I personally felt like I needed to step in and like take much more control over multiple things in order to help companies really grow their revenue. And I feel like that's something you probably do extremely, extremely well with your team.
Yeah, that's I want to say extremely well. We're getting there, right? And we're getting there, and that is why I came to the conclusion because when I had that breakthrough, I went and looked at the roadmap that we had previously because we already built that roadmap. And I said, I feel like something is off here. And I said, oh, I get it. It's that we needed to determine the offer first because if you, like you said, the reason why, and this is all goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the way that Alan thinks and the way that this guy Justin Sung thinks is connecting concepts together and illuminating those different paths, right? And connecting it all into one. And so if you look at this, the offer is on the front end. That offer determines what it looks like to get them excited, taking action, and ascending up to the back end. And then that informs the messaging. So the front end offer informs the messaging on the ads, which informs the messaging on the funnel, which informs the way that we do our OTOs, which informs the emails on the back end, which informs helping out going to the ascension path. Right? And then understanding that also helps us inform, and then understanding the back end offer helps us identify, okay, like if we're creating an awareness bridge, and here's the front end offer, we got to make sure that the awareness bridge is super clear from one to the other. But you have to identify and first determine both offers first to make sure that there's congruency across the board. Now, going back to my original analogy with the street lamps, what most people look at is, okay, well, I have this isolated piece of information. I'm only going to do the messaging or Facebook ads based on the front end. Okay, that's fine, but then the front end only informs the front end. It doesn't actually have a clear ascension or awareness bridge in which it's a clear, there will be a break. There will be a time where they have a bottleneck that they have to move up to the high ticket. So you're not creating that. And you have to identify that first and foremost. And sometimes when you see Josh Gavin, when he posts, he will say back salespeople love him is because he's clearly been able to articulate that um, in his mind, but subconsciously. And so what I'm doing is I'm bringing it forth to the conscious mind because the first week you determine those two things, then our messaging can become congruent across the board from ads to front end to OTOs to emails to ascension to setter to closer to sales, like
I love
start to
that.
finish.
I feel like it's maybe the way I would look at it, like as if I would have a lot of dominoes and I
Yes.
just take two or three apart, but it's not gonna continue. Like I took too much out of it. I don't know what's happening there. So what you've created is basically just you know exactly where everything is. You know exactly what to fix. Like okay, maybe we just lack three dominoes here. Like it doesn't continue, and you just put them right in. You just fix that, optimize it, and yeah. What are do you have any typical results or anything at all? Like do you see like a specific pattern or an average, an increase, or does it really depend per offer?
I think it depends per market, right? So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, let's talk about this dissertation. We have specific goals that we want to get to, right? That's one thing. Then we also have the dissertation, and they don't have a huge market, but we know that their need and the pain is really good, right? We understand that. We understand that their offer is also super really good. So, because of that, we understand that we could probably take about 10% of the whole of that market. And we can also pitch them the 5K, right? Again, when I look at the entire offer, I want to know what is the total market and what is the market that we could service,
Oh shit.
right? Because then what I do is start to create projections. What do I want month one to look like? Because that's our leading indicator. And then we can go, okay, this is what we're going to hit, boys. Like this is it. And ladies, my wife is right next to me. And this is what we're going to hit for month one. And I've actually built out a whole system on how we're going to track it, the projections, and be able to see week to week and month to month and quarter to quarter. And so those are the trends I'm going to be looking for, right? Like I said, the past couple of months I've just been focusing on building out these systems, right? And we release these new offers. So that doesn't answer it completely, but that kind of gives you an idea of how I'm looking at it.
Awesome, really, really cool. I think we're close to an hour or something, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Before we go, is there anything else you would really love to share with other people?
Ah, shit. Specifically, do you maybe have a specific thing that you'd like for me to
Um,
share?
Maybe about publishing actually, because that's your main thing.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, one, Bring Home the Bacon when I started it was just a name I came up with because I had been looking at, so I was running e-commerce a lot of e-commerce ad, and my mentor at that time, he told me to look at all the economics of the actual business when it comes to e-commerce. And so Bring Home the Bacon was my goal to bring more profit to e-commerce businesses. And then when I learned about publishing, I go, oh my gosh, this fits the name so well. And just bringing home more profit to every client that comes in, right? And they don't even have to spend their money. Like, this is lovely. So it worked out really well. When regarding to publishing, I would say first things first. Every time you look at a client, before you onboard and take on a client, look at their offer, look at the offers in the market, and look for market demand. Determine offers first. That will determine everything else, and even determines how well or how good you are as a leader. The reason why I say that is because if your team understands the offer on the front end and the offer on the back end, what does that also inform? The exact tasks that they need to take in order to create that, which means it speeds up the timeline for your front end funnel builder. It speeds up the timeline for your creative strategist and your media buyer, which I do those, but it also speeds it up for your director of sales because now he knows and everything is super clear and he understands the clear ascension path from start to finish. It clears up everything for the whole team, which makes it a more pleasant working environment. So that's one thing. Two, when it comes to publishing, don't skimp out. Don't skimp out. Don't look for the cheapest route. Don't do it. It's bullshit. You're going to be end up more frustrated because you didn't hire quality. That's just clearly it. People who are really good when it comes to either writing emails, writing Facebook ads, creating creatives, creating funnels, doing sales, they understand patterns in their specific area of expertise subconsciously that you won't understand consciously. And also, this is the fun part. When you hire a team that's better than you and you leave your ego at the door, you can also take it as a mentorship because these people are better than you. So, I mean, you can ask them questions. Not only are you building, but you're asking them specific questions and you can grow as a person because they're better than you. And
You learn a
it's
lot.
wonderful. Yeah, you learn so much. And so yes, don't skip out on the offer first and foremost when it comes to publishing. If you have an onboarding fee, make sure to take a certain percentage of that onboarding fee and leave it for month 1 and 2. In
Mm.
addition to that, create projections. Seriously, even if they're arbitrary projections, create projections because they're going to be the leading indicators for you to start hitting your goals. That's one of those are the two big things I say: offer and projections, and then track. That's it.
Awesome. Awesome. With the projections, like what exactly do you look for to get a proper projection? Like just the first month, or are there other specific ways of doing it?
If you've had publishing clients before, you can create a guesstimate, right? Because projections
Mm.
are somewhat educated guesses,
Yeah.
right? Majority of the time. And people say, well, they're a little bit arbitrary. Yes, but they are also your North Star,
Mm.
right? You don't want to just guess. You want to make sure that things are going well. Then you create a hypothesis around that, right? My hypothesis is that this offer here on the front end will lead to 160 opt-ins, about 90 purchases, right? Out of those, let's say that we are able to get, let's just say 50% of those 90 purchases onto a sales call from our setter because these are the projections we have. And we're looking at about 45 people hop on a call. Then let's say that we close about 20%. It's like, okay, cool. And I have projections. That means that this is my ad budget because
Yeah.
projections help a lot with you figuring out what your ad budget as well, because you can kind of somewhat predict what the back end is going to look like. So what I look for first is the offer. And that's why understanding what your obtainable market is, right? Alan talked about 10% of those people are going to buy, right? So
Yeah.
let's say that you have 10 million people in your market and you say 10%, that's a million people, right? It's like, okay, well, how do we capture that million people? Like, what can we actually do? And what's a realistic timeline on the first month? Realistically, on the first month, you most likely won't hit that. That's okay. But that informs the next months, right? Like if it keeps going like this, then okay, now I can make projection for month 2. Then I can say, okay, I need to improve these things for month 2. Because after month 1 is done, you have a lagging indicators, which tells you what you need to improve. And also validates whether or not your hypothesis is right about your offer or your offers, front end and back end, right? So first look at it that way and say, okay, what's my total addressable market? And then make a reasonable and conservative educated guess on what projections are going to be like based on what you're looking to achieve. This does not mean, hey, I want like $50,000 in that first month. You know, I want $100,000 in that first month. If you don't have any frameworks around that, you're just guessing. Like, no, dude, conservatively means I'll probably bring on 5 to 6 new high ticket clients within the first month. That sounds right. Okay, that makes sense. I can accept that. And what's the average order value for that one? What's the average total of the sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be about 5K. Cool. And because we're publishing that's 50%, that means we get 2.5K. Right, cool.
Nice.
Right. So like we start to look at the numbers because you can only scale in economics like Alan talks about if you understand the actual economics. And you can't understand the economics if it's already lagging indicator because you don't really understand the economics. Just like I'm always looking at the end of the day. Well, you got to start before the day. You got to write down what you want to achieve first. So that's what I would look at it.
Awesome.
Offer, create projections. You have clarity and North Star. Then month 2, iterate off of that data that you feedback that you got. Continue to validate your hypothesis. Let month 2 come in. Create new projections for month 2. That's your lead indicators. Look at month 2. Look back at the data, and you're like, okay, cool. Like we're really getting down to pace. Then we start building. When we start looking for tweaks.
I love how much clarity you created for the entire system. Like also personally, and I know for a lot of other people as well, like I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing, but I don't have the exact data, which also makes it very hard to like grow what you have right now. And also a lot of stuff probably like it's just unconscious. Like unconscious, you're just doing the right things. So it goes well. But if you can tap into the conscious, like consciously looking into data, like that's where the real shit's gonna happen.
Exactly. And because you started out going, okay, well, this is the offer, right? These are the prices. Like we even have an average order value that we want to hit. Like, hey, well, we'd like to hit about a $40 average order value, which means that we can have an acceptable cost per acquisition about $60. So it's $20 on each sell. We'll make up some of that on the back end. Those things are perfectly acceptable, but no one can answer that. Why? Because they don't understand how to answer that. They just guess. And guessing is going to take you absolutely nowhere. You know why? Because it leads back to the breakthrough. You don't have common denominators, which means you don't have frameworks, which means every single time you bring a new publishing client, you're always going to be guessing. And if you're always
Awesome.
guessing, then you're always extremely stressed.
So moral of the story, if you want a happy life, stop guessing.
Stop. Yes. For the love, just stop guessing. But it says people you can ask the questions to, right? And you can identify their patterns because if you can ask the right question, they'll tell you what's going on in their subconscious mind. You make that conscious, write it down on a piece of paper. You're like, oh, fuck, this is cool.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Like you've shared a lot of really good stuff. I was actually throughout this call, like, oh shit, I've got to make shorts. I wasn't planning on doing it, but I feel like you had like certain parts. I'm like, oh shit, like this part should be a short, this part should be a short. I'm like, that's
Thank you.
so awesome. Like I've got to share these little things. And also because I know probably a lot of people will kind of skim through it, but with the shorts, I'm going, oh shit, like this is such a good hook. Like you start like certain topics with such good hooks. I'm like, oh shit, like this needs to be a short form type content.
Thank you, man. I do appreciate that. I'm grateful because I don't talk a lot about stuff in public. I know you
Mm-hmm.
kind of see that. I do write, right? At times I don't always talk about it, but this is how I think on a daily basis. I'm just like, all right, cool. This fucking makes sense. And we're creating a working procedure right now just for offers. Like exactly step by step on how to create great high converting offers.
I need to get a copy of that.
Oh, we'll be going through it with Alan actually. Me and my director of sales will be and my front end funnel builder, we've been figuring it out. And then once we really get it dialed in and then test it, then I'm happy to give it out to people, because if we can repeat those processes and you guys can give me feedback and say like this, how we did it better, and I go, oh my gosh, thank you, because that's what we look for.
Awesome. Really, really awesome. Yeah, actually, throughout the call, I had like so many light bulb moments where I'm like, oh shit, like yeah, that is something I'm lacking as well. Like I know what I'm doing, and unconsciously I feel like I do a lot of stuff right. But whenever I try to like explain it to someone, I'm like, oh shit, like I don't know how to explain it. I I I kind of know what I'm doing. Like yeah, just a bit of this, a bit of that, and then everything goes well.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like, how are you supposed to like teach someone to do that? And like when we're talking about delegating, oh shit, like yeah, that's totally true. Like it's not their fault. I just didn't explain it well enough. Like I didn't give them enough time, and I assumed they would understand. But like my chaotic brain works in a totally different way than their brain works. I'm like, oh shit, like that's totally,
Exactly.
yeah, totally on me.
Yeah. And once you identify that, it's so much easier to remove the ego, right?
Yeah,
Because what we lack in saying, well, I already told them that. My wife talked to me about this. She goes, well, I already told them that. I go, say it again and say it differently. This time, say it more specifically and reframe it. Or ask them this question. Hey, I did say this before. And I go, and also think about how we process information, because information comes in. And then sometimes if it's not relevant enough and we have a lot of things in our head, our brain doesn't store it. So
yeah,
sure, you might have communicated things once, but it wasn't sticky enough in the way that you communicated it. Hey, by the way, I noticed I communicated this. Did I clarify this enough? Was it specific enough? Like, is there a way I can reframe it? That's a very specific question, right? It's like, no, actually, could you reframe this part because I didn't quite understand this? Oh,
mm,
but they didn't say that the first time. So you had to ask the question in a different way
yeah,
for them to get it. They go, oh, yeah. So then you reframe it, they ask it again, and they go, oh, now, yeah, I know, I get it. Okay, cool. I'll phrase it like this next time. Would that work for
awesome.
you? And they go, yeah, it would work.
And how do you set a specific boundary? Like when is I would say like how many fuck ups or how many times? Like what if you actively try to do so many times? Like you try all these different ways. Is there a specific moment where you're like, "Yeah, this is maybe too much?"
I'm still working through that. I tend to be a more empathetic and compassionate. I feel that
Yeah,
people can
yeah.
definitely fucking do this. Me and my wife, we had a really good talk about this. I say always that because me and her go on walks. We talk about this literally day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I'm still working on, sincerely speaking, because I
Gotcha.
tend to believe that everything is my fault. If everything is my fault, then I could control everything. Then I could control it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that is me going back to what we talked about earlier, is wanting to reduce the amount of uncertainty so that I don't feel as afraid that I'm going to lose control,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Awesome.
And I'm working on it, but I think one thing that I've done has been trying to set more consequences. Hey, by the way, this is the third time that we've discussed this. Next time that I have to discuss this, like this is what's going to happen. So right now, I would like for us to really get on this call and be able to really discuss wholeheartedly, have a hard conversation. And I accept hard conversation. I go, there are times I've had hard conversations, sent them a message out. They go, hey, that was a wonderful hard conversation. Like really good job on being open about this, and this,
Yeah,
and creating that environment. And then, so having that hard conversation going, this is going to be the consequence if this continues to happen. So please let me know right now what it is that you're struggling with so that you can A, remove it off your plate, or B, understand like if it really makes sense for both of us to continue working together. Does that sound fair?
awesome.
And most of the time, go, yeah, like this is what I could do. And I go, wonderful. And
Love
also
that.
then I say, it's wonderful to hear that. And I really do wish that you tell me before, because I don't want to continue having these conversations in the future. So if you ever feel like you can't tell me that, I need you to come to me and say, I can't talk to you about this. Like, okay, then go talk to Robin about this. Right?
Awesome, awesome. I really, really love that. Yeah, I was kind of evaluating like my relationship with one of my graphic designers, where I felt like I was so frustrated about certain things, like this is like deadlines or like things it just didn't click for him. I'm like, I don't understand why it's not clicking. And then I was going through a conversation like, but sometimes he does like amazing work. I'm like, shit, like why are these three like perfect first try and these six like so random? Like it doesn't fit branding, like nothing really works. The colors and the fonts, everything is off. And then I go through and like, oh shit, but maybe I had better examples, I had better I briefed him better on like how to actually do it and what I really want. Whereas with the other ones, like, yeah, just kind of this. And like, of course, like
Yeah.
the guy had no idea what he had to do. Like all the frustration could have been prevented by just me stepping up and like, okay, give him more clarity. Because I do know he's an amazing graphic designer. He just maybe I just need to frame it better and like we're talking through like these are the steps I want you to take, and this is the end result I want to go to. So yeah,
I love
thanks
it that
again.
you say
Yeah,
that. I sorry, can I add a little bit to that? I love
yeah,
you
yeah,
say that.
definitely.
You are in fast forward, yes?
Hmm.
Okay. So when you submit a fast forward feedback, what does Alan require you to do?
Love clarity. Yeah, like all
Yeah,
the entire doc.
he has a doc. It's an SOP. It's a system and a process. This is what you do consistently every time so that I can always have clarity on your offer, what you're looking for, and the questions that you have,
Yeah,
right? And so what you identified there was perfect, right? So like when you go back to the conversation, the first thing you could do is take like 20 minutes, put on some fucking heavy metal, because that's what I do when I'm building the systems, and just write down, it's like, okay, this is what I did that got this outcome. If I want this outcome consistently, then I will continue to take these actions, right? So I'll create a little document for me, and this will be my working procedure document in which I can always consistently do this. And then I can refine it and iterate with them if I ever it comes to a point where he didn't feel like it was clear enough.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's definitely gonna help. I think for me, it's quite recent with hiring people. Maybe a year or so. I'm like, okay, I suddenly went from just being a freelancer to like having a whole team, like 7 people. I'm like, oh shit, like this is it's hard, man. Like there's so many moments where I'm like, shit, maybe I should like scale down again. Profit margins will go up again, so that's nice. When like I'll be around roughly the same number, but at the same time, I do really love having my team. But it also comes with frustrations, of course. Lots of moments where I'm like, oh shit, this team is amazing. I love these people. I want to hang with them every single day. I don't need friends. I just need my team.
I feel
So
that, dude.
that's
Honestly, my team is my friends. They're my friends.
yeah.
So yeah, no, I feel that. Thank you, man, for this conversation today. And I hope that I didn't go too far off into deep ends, because me and you can have these type of high level conversations all the time because I love them. They are my favorite.
Dude, I should thank you. Like you took out a lot of your time. Like I went a little over time. I hope you didn't have any other appointments, but didn't take too much of your time. And also the stuff you shared, like I really didn't feel like you were holding back or anything. Like you just gave whatever it is. Like this is the actual answer that I'm thinking about. You just mentioned everything, which is really, really awesome. So thank you again. Really appreciate it. I will probably edit a little bit. I had several moments where I was like, "Oh, this should be the intro. Oh no, this should be the intro." And I'm like, "No, no, no, this should be the intro." So maybe I'm gonna make some kind of compilation as an intro. Um, there were a few parts where I felt like I was a little slow, probably because I had a super long week. Um, so apologies about that. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't. I'm not sure. But there were several moments where like, "Oh shit, I'm a little slow. I'm not. I'm like zoning out." Um, so I'll probably cut out some parts. Um, but overall, I'll send it to you first if you want to check it out. Maybe there are certain parts that you want to edit out or not. I'm not sure. But just let me know once I send it. Um, and yeah, I'll probably make a lot of shorts. I feel like the strength in this conversation, there were like so many snippets where I'm like, oh shit, this is so, so good. Like these snippets will hit, and once people see it, they will go to the full video.
That would be freaking awesome. Yeah, let me know, man. I would love to see this episode again. My wife told me, she goes, you need to start talking to more people about this stuff, because then other people start talking about it. And like when I had my breakthrough, she talked to me about Alec. She sent me a video. She goes, Alex Moses literally said the things that you said. She goes, you need to go say this out loud. And I go, oh, right. Okay, cool. And I didn't
Awesome.
notice that about you whatsoever. To me, it felt like you were actively listening. That's
I
what it
was
felt like
actually
to me.
listening, but I was so zoned in your story, like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm supposed to ask you something. Well, like, oh, I'm just waiting for you to tell me more because it was so cool.
No, yeah, you felt like you're actively listening. So I did not interpret it that way whatsoever. I thought it was like, hey, cool. Like, thanks for letting me speak my piece. And so it was good. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Like, personally, I just prefer it this way. I know some interviews they do are slightly different, and people like kind of have more back and forth. Whereas for me, I just want to get as much as possible from you because you have so
Yeah.
much good stuff to share. I'm like, I just want to know more, and I feel like the interruptions will also like take away from the audience and the people that are listening from all the knowledge that you have. Like that's why I want you on. Like I want to have your knowledge. And the more I speak, the less I can have of your knowledge, which is a waste. So like I know my stuff, like so that if I talk more about it, like I won't learn anything new. But listening, I have a lot more new stuff.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And you can also treat your team the exact same way, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
Which is the
definitely.
coolest thing. And you already have the skill because you did it today, right? So like you definitely have the skill to it. That was wonderful. Thanks, Dan. Curious on your thoughts. Would you be comfortable with saying something on Facebook? I've been asking people to do this.
Oh, dude,
Not
yeah, definitely, definitely.
just like not to say about numbers or anything, just like, hey, the conversation was great or something like that. I'm asking people to do that. I'm like, all
Like
right,
I'm not
cool.
sure if you saw the post I made for Joshua before I released the podcast with him, but that one went
I
quite
did.
viral, I think. So I'll probably make something very similar, hype you up, like share some highlights of the conversation. Um, I think I made two or three, and I think I had like 80 people reach out to me like, "Hey, can I get that link?" So
Oh, cool.
which is really really awesome, like a pre warm up VIP listing. So I'll definitely do that. So yeah, not a problem at all.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. And is there anything I can do to support you?
Um, good question. I'm kind of just stabilizing, especially with the baby. She's like 9 weeks old now, so I'm just kind of staying at the same level. Which was also why I love this conversation when you were talking about like, okay, cool, what's the next step?
Right.
Mm, like my main thing right now is just Instagram, and I would love to have some kind of high ticket stuff with that. But at the same time, like I really love my life where just most people just never heard about me. Like I think in my space and like well, probably in a bit of space on online marketing, people kind of know me. That's all good. But I really don't. I would hate myself if I had to make reels every single day, and like
Hmm.
I would not enjoy my life. So I was thinking maybe I should do something faceless, like we just do a faceless offer around Instagram, which I feel like could potentially do extremely well. I don't know yet, maybe. Um, but yeah, maybe in the future I could teach you over some information about it or what it is that I'm like, exactly doing. If you could
Yeah.
give me some feedback, that would be really, really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. And you're welcome to ask for anything else in the meantime. And I'm very grateful for this. And so there's a lot of reciprocity in this room, and I'm happy to support you. And you let me
Awesome.
know,
Thank you
like,
so
hey, Vinny,
much.
I thought of this thing. You got any resource for it? And I go, fuck yeah, I've got this and this. Or fuck no, sorry, I don't. I'll find someone who does though.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah. Actually, do you have any experience building faceless offers, or is everything with a coach or a guru? Or do you know
Everything.
someone who does? Hmm.
Who does really good faceless offers? I think Daniel Neef does really good faceless offers.
Really? Oh, I
I
didn't
I
know.
I think uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
he is who I'd go to. I personally haven't built faceless offers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, I guess when I ran my VSL, my offer was just really strong. So I wouldn't consider that a faceless offer, I guess you could say, right? But it was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
it was a really strong offer because publishing's like, we'll invest into your business. And you don't have to pay anything. And they're like, yo, yeah, fuck yeah, right, kind of deal. So
Everyone wants
yeah, exactly. And so
that. Awesome.
not on my end personally, but I think Daniel Neef
Yeah.
does or did.
Awesome. Yeah. I think the reason why I think my long-term plan is just to have something faceless and then exit. And I feel like it's very hard to exit something with your face because before like the job I mentioned, I think it was pretty funny. It was a sex coaching offer, and we were one of the biggest guys on the planet, like if not the biggest. And at that point, it was just like, okay, we have the face, but without him, we can't do it. And then YouTube banned us, and that was
Mhm.
like 80% of the revenue. And like, oh shit. So without the face, this company is worth nothing. You can't sell it to anyone. I'm like, oh shit, like I would prefer just having something faceless maybe after a few years, I just want to exit and then just be with my daughter every day and just do cool stuff. I don't
Right.
really have the desire anymore to, yeah, to keep doing it every single day. I would still do stuff, but not every day probably, or not more than 2 hours a day. I feel
Right.
like I'm at that stage where I'm like, okay, I just want to be done. Want to get my 4 or 5 million and just that's it. I'm out.
And coast. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I would go to him. I love that idea. It's fun just to coast in that manner. And so, yeah. Well, hell yeah, man. Thank you again for
All
today.
right. Thank you, man. I really,
Yeah,
really appreciate it. And
likewise.
let's keep in touch. And I'll send you
Yes.
over this probably within the